Hey, welcome back. This is Dave with Brazos Valley Barbell, and today we're going to be answering some questions about squatting. So last week I put out some questions on Instagram asking about what people needed help with, whether it was squat, bench, deadlift, sticking points, whatever. And overwhelmingly, the most common questions were about squatting. So some of the questions I received were about descent speed, tightness in the hole, sticking points, getting folded over, all of those kind of things. So we're going to be addressing all of those individually. We'll come up with some accessory exercises, some cues, and those kind of things to really help correct these long term and get you stronger. So going forward, keep asking me questions, keep sending me videos on Instagram, and I can give you specific feedback for you. And then from there, I'll be able to make videos based on the most common questions I receive from people and just really help build a little bit of a library here, some of the cues that we can really use that apply to most people, and then be able to send individual videos to people just based on their individual weaknesses. So we'll get right into the squatting. So when it comes to squats, a lot of the issues that people were having, whether it was descent speed, tightness in the hole, folding over, with all of these, I think they start from the same place. So what we're going to see with my empty bar warm-up is going to be a real dedication to making sure that I'm focusing on my brace and my upper back position more so than anything else here. So I know some of the questions I received were about stance width and how to get into a wider stance squat. Honestly, I don't think that's a good place to start. I don't think that people should work their way out to a wide squat. I've always been out here. It's not something that I've done on purpose. It's just been the only way that it's felt natural for me. The big thing for most people is that we want to be able to find a squat position that it basically allows you to move like I'm moving here, where the position that I'm taking at the top with this angle, I'm able to finish at a very similar angle down at the bottom. So this is something that I'm really doing on purpose, and we'll come back. So through my warm up, the main things that I'm being deliberate on, getting warm and loose, is upper back tightness, bracing, my knees traveling forward. So I'm doing these kind of partial reps on purpose, as I'm deliberately trying to feel my legs and to maintain this angle. And really that's almost the only things that I'm focusing on with this warm up, and just being able to replicate that position lots of times. So I have videos, 2 other videos specifically with squats that I think are applicable here. Is the leg strength video, and that's talking about where my knee right here is really staying underneath my body and being able to utilize my legs. Another one, the name of it is something just low bar position and tightness and that kind of thing. And really, I'm talking about upper back tightness. So talk about getting set segmentally and those kind of things. But those are the big points here. But we'll do those a little bit more. So what you can see with all of these squat warm-ups is I'm being very, very deliberate about maintaining that trunk angle and tightness. So that's going to be the first step, is really going to be analyzing yourself at the lower weights. And I think a lot of times people get lazy with these, and they'll say that they can't squat well with the light weights. The position isn't good enough, or the weight isn't heavy enough to make them be tight. I think that's kind of a cop out, and I think you're setting yourself up for failure at the heavier weights. So what I'm doing here with these light ones is I'm really working on being deliberate on trying to find this straight bar path. Where that bar starts at the top is where it finishes mid-foot. So when we go back to the empty bar, you can see the same thing, is that I'm really being deliberate about making sure that my bar path stays in that straight line. I don't think this is something that most people do very well as they're warming up. I think they kind of just either slap on a plate and get going, or basically treat the empty bar as just they're a throwaway rep. They're not really thinking much about it. So I'm being very deliberate about making sure my upper back is staying in a good position, and I'm maintaining the angles that I want to take with all of these. So same thing with the one plate here. I'm doing all the same thing. That back angle really should stay the same through the whole squat. We'll start with let's go right here. Okay, so I should be able to maintain this angle through most of it, and we'll pause down here at the bottom. So these are the big things that I'm trying to work on right here. So when it comes to tightness and folding over when you're starting to come out of the hole, Basically, this is where it starts. So with your lighter warm-up sets, you have to be deliberate about creating upper back tightness and trunk pressure and all those kind of things, and really a consistent bar path. If I were on my descent, if my bar were coming down this way and then coming up, that's a really easy way for you to lose your upper back tightness. The bar's over your toes now, and you are for sure going to fold over and have a high chance of missing that rep. So start with the lighter weights and really be deliberate about what you're doing through these warm-up sets and be intentional and purposeful with everything that you're doing. So when it comes to descent speed, what you'll see is that my descent speed with these light ones is going to be the same as what it is with the heavy ones. Again, we're doing that on purpose. The way that I cue people with this is to descend as fast as you can and maintain tightness and structure. So as fast as you can is very much relative. So we can see that the position that I get down here at the bottom of this squat, again, what we can look at the angles again with where I was. We'll come back to the top. Hopefully these angles are very similar. So I want to descend as fast as I can and maintain tightness. So if that meant that at the bottom of the squat, if I got really loose, then that was too fast and I need to slow down. So a lot of times cueing people to descend slower and not worry about speed or rebound or any of those kind of things fixes a lot of these problems with collapsing in the hole or just getting loose in general. So prioritize tightness over speed, over anything else that you do. On the way down, we should be focusing on those cues, not necessarily chest up, but big chest, elbows under the bar, and finding your legs to do this whole drive right here. So I think people know when they're when they're deadlifting, patience off the floor and maintain structure. It's the same cues when we're squatting. Is that I just need to be patient and stay in that position that may be kind of hard. So where people fold over is going to be, I'll go over this next position right here. And actually, this squat day was a little bit challenging for me. It was harder than I expected it to be, which probably for this video is a good thing. So what we're going to see is that, so this is 496 now, that my descent speed is slow and steady. I've maintained a good structure. I don't think that this position looks any different than what it did at my lighter weights. And we'll probably see that with some of the ones I go a little bit heavier than. Now, on the way up, I'm making a conscious effort to maintain this knee position and not let my knee slip back as I come up. So that's where I say legs. We'll say stay on your legs, drive your knees forward. I don't want to break prematurely with my knees, but I'm trying to keep my knees against the wall. So this is the wall right here, is we're trying to maintain that position for probably at least a third, if not half of the squat ascent on the way up, and really making an effort to maintain that same trunk position on the way up. So you can see right there that I did a pretty good job of it. So now we're at 562, and we'll see that the descent speed really doesn't change. So same as all my warm-ups, tight control. The main thing that I'm focusing on is maintaining just that posture. And so that one didn't feel as great as I wanted it to, but we can see that as I'm descending, everything that I'm working on right here is all about tightness, elbow staying on the bar, and this would be an easy position for me to get loose and collapse, and then as I turn around, let my knees slip back. And they do a little bit, but the main thing kind of right in here as I'm getting up, as I'm cueing again, that I want my knees to be pushing forward into that wall. All right, so this next one is going to be 606. I knew it was going to be pretty hard, but I was pretty happy with how I was able to maintain position through this rep. So with everyone, what I think the main thing that we need to do is basically practice these reps, and I think we should do some hard reps that are like this, but use them. We can think about these as a technical max, right? So if I'm having trouble maintaining tightness in the hole, if I'm struggling with falling over, knees collapse, getting loose, just choose correct weights that you're able to practice these skills, and that if you're continuing to execute bad reps, then don't go that heavy. You can change your max to a technical max. What's the most weight I can squat and maintain good position? And then from there you can train. You can have hard reps, but your hard reps should look good. So we'll go through a couple of different angles with this. And this is going to be the front angle. We'll probably see the least out of it, but the main thing, and I've talked about this before, is that now I'm really working on maintaining this position and structure, but it's going to be the chest kind of up and through. So I'm not necessarily that angle, but kind of coming right at us. I'm trying to lead with my chest and drive my knees to keep them in the same position. So Driving with your, I'll say shoulders, lead with your shoulders, lead with your chest. And that's out of the bottom cueing that I want that part to move first rather than my knees jumping back or any of those kind of things. So what we have to think about is that we have to acknowledge that our bodies are wanting to do the easiest thing they can do. So if our legs are weak, which for the most part people folding over in the squat are losing tightness in the hole, we're shifting to where we're stronger, which a lot of times are our back or hips. So from this angle, we'll see that I do a pretty good job of being able to keep my knees forward and get my chest moving. So we'll use this knee over here. I'm able to keep that knee forward, and then coming out of the hole, we'll say chest come up and through. So when we lose these positions, it's just our body's natural reaction to shift back to positions that we're strong and comfortable in. Now, on the way up with these reps, I would have liked from this position to stay in a little better position with my shoulders leading the way to start off with. You can see I slip back a little bit. I would have liked my shoulders to rise slightly faster than my hips did here, but I did a pretty good job of getting my chest moving, or say scooping basically right in here, is that I can continue to cue knees forward and get your chest through. So that goes back to the previous video that I made, leg strength for squats. That's really all about this one. But with the descent that I'm taking here, I'm able to kind of anticipate some of those weaknesses that I know they're going to happen and work to correct them and not just let myself relax and get into a bad position with these. So the descent speed should be fast enough to not waste energy, but slow enough that you can guarantee that you're going to stay in a good spot. So last one, this angle is probably going to be the best for seeing us being able to maintain this trunk angle. And that's probably not where I'm actually going to end up. We'll say it's going to be right when I start to descend. All right, so I want to try to maintain this angle through the whole squat and down in the bottom. So as I come up, I want to fight for that, fight for knees staying forward, and then elbows under the bar is a big one that I think gets neglected right here. But you can see that little sticking point in the middle is what I would say is a good thing. So that was not my best rep there because my hips jumped back a little bit on the way up, right? So that's not a good one when you see how the deviation is coming from those lines. But we can come to the earlier reps, and I do a much better job of staying in position. So the sticking point is going to be just the position that you have the least mechanical advantage over the weight, right? So we're going to have a sticking point somewhere. Now, if the sticking point is just a hard stop, most time what's happening is we're shifting back basically past where I've gotten right here, is that you lose mechanical advantage or really any ability to produce force from your quads. And so then you're really, really stuck. And that's where people were saying that they get stuck halfway out of the squat, is they've just shifted back too far and we're not able to drive anymore. So the cue here is going to be scoop, is that I want my knees to scoop back under and get back under my body. And we can see that I'll do that right there on all of these. So trying to maintain that trunk angle, trying to lead with my chest, but then I scoop back under and get my quads back involved. So some accessories that I think are great, obviously are going to be things like pause squats, high bar pause squats, belt squats, any quad work is going to be really good, leg extensions even, all those kind of things. But right here what I'm doing generally, so my belt squat is broken to the gym, so I had to do some high bar squats with these. But what I'm doing right here is I'm just cueing positions that I want to be in. So the main thing that I'm going to be cueing with this is going to be that I'm trying to keep the weight on my quads. And so this looks a little bit different. If I had a little bit of a closer stance, the angles I wouldn't look quite so open or anything. This is just specific to how I squat. I know I'm going to get the questions about not having knee sleeves or shoes on. I just did this after deadlifting, so it was a little bit lazy. I just didn't put my equipment back on. So I'm trying to keep my knees forward, and the next angle we'll see that a little bit better. But these partial reps are going to be good for these higher rep sets if the goal is just hypertrophy, because what I'm going to be doing here is focusing all of my effort onto back tightness, right? So my angle is going to stay the same, and we'll put that up here, right? So the angle with my back stays the same, and then I'm trying to keep the weight on my quads, and everything is going to stay forward right here. So the purpose with these is just hypertrophy, and also there's a good bit of cueing that can go into this, is that I can really work on having that sensation of what it feels like to have weight on my legs, weight on my quads, and not let my back become an issue. So high bar squats are great because they help you feel a better brace, and maintain that position, we can get a little bit lazy with low bar squats sometimes. So I do these at least once a week, and a lot of times pretty heavy. So in summation, prioritize tightness over speed or anything like that, is that you just want to be able to be deliberate about where you're putting your body. So understand that any of the weaknesses you have, like collapsing or knees falling in or those kind of things, are correctable by you just being deliberate about fixing them. So choose exercises that are hard for you, things like pause squats and high bar squats and those kind of things, and challenge the things that you're bad at. Most people need to work on their bracing and their quad strength. So if we prioritize these and don't allow yourself to put yourself into positions, just basically from an ego standpoint, if you can squat 500 pounds with basically bad form, but let's say you can only squat 450 with the positions that you want, you've been stuck at that 500 forever, probably spending more time working off that technical max and changing your positions will go a long way. So high bar pause squats, the single leg work for your quads, belt squats, things like that are really what's going to drive it the furthest. But then you being deliberate about your warm-ups and not just taking those for granted and putting yourself in the positions that you want to be in will be what challenges you the most and will end up driving your progress the furthest. So thanks for all the submissions. Let me know what other questions I can answer. Subscribe to the channel, give me a like. Thanks for watching.